right. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is I think it's a good piece of legislation. And as a medical personnel and one from the scientific community, I would have to support this because I would be in favor, as a medical person, I would be in favor of any type of research, studies, therapy that can prolong health, sustain health. People are continuously looking for the solution for aging and a solution for chronic pain. And in many instances, most of the solutions may be of genetic variation. But the only concern I would have at this particular point in time is my medical colleagues had one great concern in that the government had not consulted them with respect to this bill discussion and moving forward. But, Madam Speaker, I want to inform and remind the residents of the Killarney constituency of our pre-independence family fun day, which is scheduled for the 6th of July, Saturday, 6th of July, at New Providence Community Center. And it's 5:30 until. It's a fun day, free food, games, etc. Bring the entire family. It's basically to reconnect and associate, communicate with each other, and be assured that it would be a very interesting time, an interesting day. Madam Speaker, I'm going to confine my debate more to health, because this is a health bill. And as I speak to my colleagues, there are concerns that they may have, not necessarily with the bill, but within the health community. And I'm certain that the member for Tall Pine would understand. But I rise today on behalf of the Killarney constituency to contribute to the Longevity and Regenerative Therapies Bill 2024. And legislation to the health sector is of particular interest to me, as I have dedicated my entire life to medicine and to the care of Bahamian people. And one of my greatest pleasures, Madam Speaker, as an obstetrician gynecologist, was successfully bringing new life into the world. And many of these children who have grown into adulthood are making their contribution to nation building. And dealing specifically with babies and mothers, women, that is the sector within the health community that made me who I am and what I am. And because babies and mothers have done so much for me, I have a predilection for, or particular liking for that group of individuals. And you'd find that I particularly, because of my bringing up and because of my medical career, I concentrate especially on the young people, babies, and particularly the female population. And yes, it's been said that during my career, I would have delivered about 5,000 babies. That was an underestimation, and that was intentionally done. That was intentionally done. That was intentionally done. Because knowing Bahamians, they would automatically start calculating in their heads as to how much each delivery costs and subsequently how much money he may have made, and as a result may cause great problems at home and elsewhere. So that was an underestimation, but that would remain in the records, 5,000. That was acceptable, and that will remain. I am proud, Madam Speaker, that these hands helped to bring so many infants into this world. And being a physician is demanding and stressful at times. But seeing the joy of a parent's face when their child is born is a great joy for an obstetrician. Madam Speaker, many may ask, is politics stressful? And I've always answered and said, no, it is not as bad as medicine. And the member for Tall Pines will tell you, politics is a joke when it comes to stress. In the medical community, stress, this is what stress is. You complete a surgical procedure, and everything goes well. And then, 16 hours later, they call you, the nursing or the health personnel call you to inform you that the blood pressure is falling, the patient is deteriorating, but you knew everything went well. So you subsequently rush to hospital, and you stay near that bedside, be it an intensive care unit or whatever, next to that patient all day, because you are so concerned for their health, knowing that you've done everything well and their life is in your hand. Madam Speaker, you stay at that bedside doing everything and trying to refer to any book of any type of experiment to make sure everything is done. And you go 24, 36 hours with no sleep. Then you try to write your notes. And Madam Speaker, you cannot write a simple word because of the stress level that you're undergoing. You cannot write your name, you cannot sign. You try to get something to eat, and you pick up the fork, and you can't find your mouth. It's just, your hands are just tremoring, shaking because of stress. You can't pronounce a word because of the staccato effect, because of the stress. Madam Speaker, that is stress when you're dealing with life and death. Politics is not stress. It may be a tax. I mean, as for me, I've been called everything in the world except the child of God, so I'm only waiting for that one. But But that is stress. Medicine is a very stressful field when you're dealing with life and death. And when you're dealing with an infant that represents the future of the country, you holding the future in your hand, that is stress if anything happens to that infant. And the mother who has to care for that infant throughout, bringing them up, supporting them, you're concerned. That is stress. The bill before us, Madam Speaker, helps to establish the Bahamas as a world leader in the field of longevity and regenerative medicine. The hope is that through its passage, there will be significant health and economic benefits to the country. And the minister responsible, the board, and ethics committees set out in this legislation all have various types of oversight roles to ensure that responsible research, and that's important, responsible research and therapies are carried out under this bill. The bill outright bans any therapy or research that seeks to genetically modify a human embryo, with the intent of that embryo becoming a living human. Test gene therapies on patients without informed consent. Purposely modify the germline of an adult human. Transplant an edited human embryo into a non-human life form, or use a replicative virus to deliver, except if approved for a specific treatment by the ethics committee. And these rules are important. These rules are important. We must be known as a jurisdiction that has high ethical standards. It will also be important that the regulators under this bill deeply scrutinize individuals who come in and the types of therapies they seek to undertake, be they stem cell therapies or other longevity medicines. This bill, Madam Speaker, will replace the previous stem cell legislation. And just as we saw in the crypto industry with Sam Bankman-Fried, there are many hucksters in the medical world also. And we must be cognitive of these individuals and certain to adhere to our legislation. They sell desperate patients on so-called new therapies that supposedly cure just about everything. I would remember, Madam Speaker, a long time ago, when AIDS first was recognized here in the Bahamas. Now, we may have seen AIDS before. We diagnosed individuals who developed fever and subsequently passed away. We would have diagnosed it at that particular point in time, PUO, pyrexia, meaning temperature of unknown origin. And that may have been a presentation of AIDS, but we were not that advanced yet to understand what was the cause. But we knew that they subsequently passed away from illnesses that we did not understand. And I would always remember a friend of mine, a colleague, who, after AIDS was diagnosed and we understood it, she had developed AIDS. And I was so disturbed and felt so helpless as a medical personnel who study and deal in research, and I could not find a cure for this particular illness. It was so disturbing that I called every bush medical specialist I knew and asked them, have they seen this type of thing? But that's the type of desperation people go through because they want a solution. So you can imagine if me as a doctor seeing a colleague, a friend, going through that, and I became so desperate in trying to help that anything I would have done in terms of research or medical medicine to give to her to ensure that she gets better. And individuals will come, individuals who are ill will seek medical care. And they will do anything and spend their entire life savings to get well. Because we all want to live. We all talk about going to heaven, but you can only go to heaven if you die, but not one of you want to die. Nobody want to die. Now, my mother, God rest her soul, did not like politics. And if she was living today, I would not have been in politics. My mother is convinced, and I could not change her mind, she is convinced that politicians are dishonest. She's convinced that politicians lie. And she's convinced that hell was made and designed for politicians especially. I could not convince her. So she had a problem with her son going along the hell line. But I am one of those, I have not entered the hell road. I'm on the heaven road. Amen. Madam Speaker, individuals sell desperate patients on so-called new therapies that supposedly cure just about everything. Or in the longevity and regenerative space, they claim to reverse aging. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has had to repeatedly issue warnings regarding bogus and expensive stem cell therapies. We do not see crooks in the Bahamas. The regulators must cast a watchful eye on those who come to operate under this legislation. We should welcome in real doctors and real scientists who believe in the scientific method and who care for the people they treat or study. We should reject illegitimate money-making schemes that prey on people who are sick and desperate. Having a slack regulatory regime would harm our international reputation. We do not need international headlines reporting on people being harmed by bogus treatment in the Bahamas. We do not need headlines of people losing their life savings on unproven treatment. I support this legislation, and I congratulate the minister in bringing forth this type of legislation. The key to this, Madam Speaker, will be ensuring that the right people with the right medical and scientific credentials are chosen to oversee the sector. Madam Speaker, as we debate this medical bill, it is necessary for me to again plead to the Prime Minister not to go forward with the Chinese-funded hospital he proposes to build in New Providence.
That's where we disagree.
I understand that. That's what debates are all about. That's what debates are all about. We could easily build 2 or 3 new wings at Princess Margaret Hospital for the $290 million he proposed to spend on this one Chinese-funded hospital. Madam Speaker, if you listen to the medical community, they would tell you that we are advancing to a health crisis. We have serious health issues. Those health issues, some were there from I was born, and they've gone government after government. But we now feel that they're progressing and becoming worse. Because of what's happening, some people receive delayed care. But we have to look and see what are the problems.
Madam Speaker,
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Golden Gates.
I move that the House moves beyond the 1 o'clock hour.
Second. Thank you, honourable members. It has been moved and seconded that the business of this House proceed beyond the 1 p.m. hour. As many are in favour will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The business of this House will now proceed beyond the 1 p.m. hour. Honourable member for Killarney, may proceed.
If you want me to start again, then 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I'll come back and start from 0.
No.
Oh, okay. No, Madam Speaker, as politicians, we tend to concentrate more on structures, buildings. We get a high when we construct a new building. That's what we did, the next thing we did. But we must move away from that. We need a paradigm shift. Let's concentrate on people. Let's concentrate on the staff. Improve communication. Improve the environment that they work in, the working environment. Improve consultation between them and us. And let's work towards a positive, healthy environment. Because if an individual is happy within that environment, be it healthcare or wherever, then the patients subsequently meet the most happiest individual, and the results are better. But if individuals are stressed within an unhealthy, toxic environment, that toxicity spills over to the patient. That toxicity spills over to the community. And we have to shift our focus not on buildings, because a happy staff will subsequently result in happy patients and better outcome. And let's look at why our staff is so unhappy and why the environment is toxic. We need to spend more within what we have, the institution, to ensure that we communicate with regularity with the staff so that they can point out to us what are the challenges they face. And yes, we may not be able to correct all, but if they see us making the step and communicating with them with regularity, that we cannot or we did not do this particular one because of these issues, but we will try to advance it next time. That's all people are looking for, Madam Speaker. So the environment must be healthy, and they must have the materials, the equipments to work with. Because if they don't have the equipments to work with, that's what caused the problem with the overflow of beds. The minister understands this. If an individual needs a surgical procedure, they are placed in a bad situation. They are admitted. But if you have a hospital with 7 theaters, and because of shortage of staff or whatever, and the minister knows that the staff complement for theaters, for example, are short to compare with what we need. So as a result of that, if we have 7 theaters and only 3 are functioning, it meant that the beds are occupied by 10, 15 individuals who are waiting for surgery. But they cannot receive their surgery because only 3 theaters are working. So other patients that may need bed cannot be admitted. There's a bad situation. But the bad situation is because we have not met the complements of staffing or materials. And that's why it's so important, Madam Speaker, let us not just concentrate on building our name to say, oh, this Minnis building or, oh, this Davils building. No, let's concentrate more on staff. Staff are leaving the hospital. They're resigning. They're taking pre-retirement leave. They're taking 4 weeks vacation. They're taking unpaid leave. And you know why? Because they're not happy with the environment. They're not happy with the challenges they face. They're not happy. No, having a new hospital is not the issue. It's not the solution. Because you're taking the same toxicity into a new hospital. And the same problems. You build a new hospital and you still don't have the staff complement. It's the same problem. You don't have sufficient doctors. You don't have sufficient nurses. You don't have sufficient supplies. You have a beautiful structure, but it's non-functional. And that's why I say we need the paradigm shift. And the paradigm shift can only occur with communication. So let's look at the problems. What are the problems? And these are the issues we have to deal with. Let's deal with the problems first. Doctors are leaving hospital. They're retiring. They're taking extensive leave because they are stressed out with the communication, not having the equipment, not having proper environment, having issues with the institution itself, not having adequate medical supplies or whatever is necessary. They are leaving because of stress and they're concerned about their own mental outcome. So they're leaving because they want to maintain their quality of life and don't spill the stress or the toxicity that they would experience onto their family. So that's one of the problems. Then equipment and supplies. Let's concentrate on those. Let's concentrate on this so that you would have a happy staff, a happy patient, and a happy outcome. The shortages, let's concentrate on that. And the staffing, as I've said. Just to give an example, Madam Speaker, we have a beautiful edifice at Princess Margaret Hospital. Beautiful structure, critical care block. 7 beautiful theaters, state-of-the-art theaters. But for those theaters who build it is immaterial. That is not the issue, and that is our problem. We we glorify ourselves because you build this or the next one build it. No, we must move away from this glorification and let's concentrate on our staff and the environment. Let's concentrate on the people. Move away from this glorification. So, Madam Speaker, the theaters, for the 7 theaters to function, you need 30 nursing personnel. There are only 12. So as a result, 4 are closed and only 3 are functioning because that's all we have. We're short of anesthesiologists, so you cannot function. So those are the problems. So yes, you would go tomorrow and build or say, Minnis Stores only built 7 theater. I'm going to beat Minnis, I'm going to beat Ingram, so we're going to extend it to 10. But what do? You make things worse because you still, and the minister knows these are the realities. All I'm saying is, as we move forward, and these are not your problem. We had similar problem. No. We had some. I know you have problems with staff. I know you have problems. But all I'm saying is, let us concentrate. Then, Madam Speaker, as we correct the system, I would hope that the minister would aggressively move towards the electronic medical records, because that is a problem. So the solution, let us do staff audit so we know exactly where the shortages are. And you can't correct them overnight. You cannot. But let's try to work on it. Let us improve the communication between ourselves, between the staff, and everyone else. Everybody has to be involved. We think, and studies have shown, that the existing PMH can serve, but we were for stage development. The new government is for new institution. We don't agree with that. Let's look at needs assessment. Let's look at the country's needs assessment. Individuals come to various government ministries and ask for government support, for scholarship, for this or that. But that may not be the needs of the Bahamas at that time. If we do the needs assessment, we know what we need for our projections 10, 20 years from today, and assist those individuals, scholarships, etc. So, Madam Speaker, those are just some of the things that we need to look at. I'm talking about staffing, people we have to concentrate on. I again asked the Prime Minister how many Chinese workers will he bring to build this new hospital. No one on the government side can give a clear answer to this question. I said, clear. Will there be 1,000? Will there be 2,000? Or will it be more Chinese workers over the life of the project? With unemployment having risen, why are we going to give so many work permits and jobs to non-Bahamians? The Prime Minister recently bragged about personally intervening to stop work permits for foreigners for jobs that could be done by Bahamians. If he had to intervene, this is an admission that his government has been allowing foreigners to do jobs that could be done by Bahamians. But even worse, his government is going to allow big time and on a grand scale the very things he says he wants to stop. This is hypocrisy and double talk on a massive and grand scale. Hundreds, if not thousands, of work permits and jobs are going to go to Chinese for a number of years. These are jobs that could be done by Bahamians. As the bulk of the salaries for these workers will be paid in China, these tens of millions of dollars will never circulate in our economy. And this policy to allow so many foreign workers is the ultimate opposite of Bahamian first. This policy by the PLP, foreigners first and Bahamian last. The proposal by my government had to build a new wing at PMH would have overwhelmingly been done by Bahamian workers. We've spoken repeatedly on that. Madam Speaker, the Bahamian taxpayers are paying for this hospital. They deserve to know how many foreigners Prime Minister will let into the Bahamas to build this hospital. The country is getting outraged over the percentage of foreign workers. The head of the Contractors Association told the Tribune earlier this month, and I have the article, that he thinks, that's his view, that, and Professor, I adopt. That he thinks it could be as high as 90% of the workers at the hospital being foreign. Nearly every commentary I have read in the media is critical of this hospital. Dr. Cornwell Brown told Tribune earlier this month that the phased redevelopment of PMH makes a lot more sense because necessary utilities and infrastructure are already in place. In an article entitled 650 Jobs to Fill at $290 million Hospital on June 14th, 2024, Dr. Brown said, "My vote, in a nutshell, is that we optimize and improve Princess Margaret Hospital. That $300 million they're talking about, my crystal ball tells me we will see cost overruns, underestimates, and a challenging cost structure." Dr. Brown also echoed concerns other doctors have raised about the lack of consultation. The story said, Dr. Brown, meanwhile, echoed concerns voiced by Dr. Gemma Roll, the MAB president, over the government's failure to widely consult doctors and other medical professionals over its plan and its advance. Madam Speaker, I obviously would not have time to go into what I wanted to say, and I'm certain that the minister and others are very happy about that. But before I close my debate during the last 30 seconds that I have, I would like to ask the minister with responsibility for national insurance. I know the government had announced that there would be a 1.5% increase in NIB contributions effective the 1st of July. But the minister informed this House whether or not National Insurance has made the provisions within their computer system to accommodate this 1.5%. Because there are some individuals who want to pay, but they've been informed that the computer system has not yet been, there's been no beta testing, and the system is not in place yet, and therefore they cannot pay. This is a challenge if that's the case, because these are supposed to be effective the 1st of July, but the payment cannot be accommodated at this particular time. So I asked the minister to look into that. And there had been an internal audit report. I don't know if the minister would be so kind as to inform us as to the outcome of the internal audit report. And I think another report by the Price Waterhouse report. Would you table the Price Waterhouse report that was done? When would that be tabled so that we can review that? But most importantly, the internal audit report. I believe that there are some very vital information that would have been revealed in the internal audit report. And I think Parliament would love to see that report so that if there's any investigation that has to be done and individuals has to be dealt with, or any monies were misappropriated or so, I think the public needs to know all of that. Madam Speaker, time would not allow me to proceed, so I support this piece of legislation.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Tall Pines.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I didn't want to interrupt the member for Killarney, and I do thank him, and the medical community thank him to support such an important bill, Longevity and Regenerative Therapies bill. I do agree with him that the regulatory framework is absolutely essential so that we protect the good name of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And I want to refer him to Section 25 that speaks about the regulatory framework, and to look very closely at the function of the board and the ethics committee I know. But what I'm saying is we believe that we have a tight-knitted framework where we would hire the necessary personnel to move forward. And lastly, I do disagree with him with the hospital by the Chinese government. And the Bahamian people can rest assured that a lot of support will be given to local contractors. I do disagree with the 90-10% that the leader of the Contractors Association has said. And in due time, we would reveal the ratio of Chinese versus Bahamian workers, and we're excited to do so. As far as the hospital is concerned, yes, there was a proposal to expand around the Princess Margaret Hospital, but the hospital is deteriorating. The critical care block is gold standard, but when you move beyond the critical care block, we have major challenges with the infrastructure. These are legacy legacy issues, by the way, and it has superseded me, and it will keep going on. But we believe that what we're doing is correct, and it's okay to disagree. But I assure you that many of the things you talk about with consultation with our healthcare workers is paramount. We do it. I agree with you. We need to do a lot more. But I want the entire healthcare community to know that we are concerned about the conditions at the Princess Margaret Hospital. We're concerned about the tight spaces. We're concerned about the deterioration of the structure. We're concerned about the shortage of healthcare workers, by the way, which is global. It's not only the Bahamas. And we're doing a lot of new and exciting things to address many of the concerns you have outlined, Killarney. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Killarney.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I agree with the Minister. All I'm saying is that we need a paradigm shift and concentrate even more on the staff, their environment, etc. And the only thing with respect to New Orleans, we can debate back and forth about location, but I would ask the Minister to be very cognizant of flooding and drainage within that area. I would not like to see the problem that has occurred with the JL building on Blake Road, the building that the government owned. That building has a chronic problem of mold infestation. You cannot have a similar episode occurring at the hospital, mold infestation. Individuals will go into the hospital well and come out sick. The hospital will be the incubation for illness. So those are concerns I would have. Pardon?
The member for Killarney. The member Killarney and the Bahamian people can rest assured that the site that we're looking at that is going through the final stages of the environmental impact assessment will be a site that is conducive for further growth and development for healthcare services in the Bahamas. And this whole scenario about mold and flooding, you can rest assured that the mitigation efforts associated with this project will be one of the best. As a matter of fact, what we intend to do in the area is clean up the mess that currently exists, because we have found fecal matter in many of the well fields in close proximity to this land, and we intend to address those healthcare concerns while constructing a state-of-the-art hospital that will not only be able to mitigate floods, but be a place where people can rest assured in the heat of any hurricane. It can be a shelter. And I'm confident of that fact, and the research and all of the environmental impact assessments will confirm that once the Ministry of Environment has agreed that the site is conducive for construction. We will move to go back to the Bahamian people and answer a lot more of the questions that you brought forth today, Killarney.
Why I'm so persistent and passionate about staffing. We built 2 mini hospitals, Abaco and Exuma, state of the art. But they're not as functional as they should be. Why? We give a perfect building, but no staffing, no equipment, no material. So dental facilities there, for example, may have never been used because you don't have any dentists. You just do not want to fall in the same trap again. You build a hospital, you have no staff, and therefore it's non-functional. We have examples after examples. That's all I'm saying.
I beg to disagree with you. I could agree with you as far as Abaco and Exuma mini hospitals is concerned. There was no motivation in the past, but I want to assure you that we are moving to put those two facilities as urgent care facilities, and we are now in the final stages of procuring the necessary equipment and the manpower resources, both locally and internationally, to ensure that we have the capability to have these things functioning. So we're recruiting, Minister. We're recruiting. I've already recruited in Ghana. We're recruiting additional nurses from abroad, and we're recruiting physicians to ensure that individuals in the Family Island have access to the same quality of health care that the residents in New Providence and Grand Bahama have. So stay tuned. We're not just sitting, sleeping on our laurels. We realize we need help. We need help, and we have a short-term plan for help where we're going to recruit to fill some of these gaps that have been like that for a long time. We are recruiting, sir.